you add a base. Ends Monday. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the Dallas Cowboys Pepsi Postgame Show. Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, here's Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus.
In the gun, Prescott, snap back, handoff, Elliott driving, pushing, touchdown! Ezekiel Elliott, head for the kettle. No, fakes the kettle. Says, I'm not getting the fine. I'm just taking the touchdown.
No fine, and it wasn't easy, but the Cowboys are now 10-3. First time since 95 and 96. The Cowboys have put up back-to-back double-digit win seasons. Zach Wolchuk, Brian Broaddus from the Miller Lite Club after a 27-23 win over the Texans. What a final game-winning drive. The Texans made it very difficult. They certainly came to play today. The Cowboys didn't help themselves. A couple of big turnovers there that the Texans were able to score and cash in with 14 points. And, look, all that matters is in the BCS. I told you this on the way down, Brian.
Yeah.
Find a way to get a win in the NFL.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys did that today.
They sure did. And, there were some things when they go back and look at the tape, whether it was the turnovers, missed blocks. I don't think they handled the two-quarterback thing all that well. But when they had to make stops at the very end, that fourth down stop that they were able to make gave them the opportunity to go win that football game. And that's all you can ask. And your quarterback came up big on that drive. Your backup wide receivers came up big on that drive. Your tight end came up big. You switched out a tackle in order to come up big. You're right. It's not about style points. It's surviving these games. And, man, the injuries hit a ton. You saw some depth have to go out there and play. Hats off, to the Cowboys for finding a way to get that done. I mean, you're going to have gut check games in this league. There's a lot of pride on the other side with the Texans. They're 1-10. But, they were in that football game. But that's why they're 1-10, because they found a way to lose it.
Yep.
And you found a way to win it.
Absolutely. And the good teams do.
Yeah.
The good teams find a way to win it. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's hard to win in the NFL, Brian. You say it all the time.
Yep.
The NFL is a strange lady.
It's a strange lady.
And today it didn't look good. It looked really, really bleak at times. But the Cowboys found a way. Your defense got a huge fourth down stop right at the goal line, and then Dak Prescott on the offense go 98 yards. How about a couple of big throws by Dak? And you mentioned Jason Peters coming in there at right tackle, solidifying that right side. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the injury to Terrence Steele. That's absolutely heartbreaking because Terrence Steele's been having a very, very good year, specifically when it comes to the run game. Him and Martin on that right side have been so good. Josh Ball, his first substantial regular season playing time, was struggling. The coaching staff recognizes it. They've made those adjustments all year long. They put Jason Peters in, and he comes in and is able to solidify that right side to give Dak time to find his receivers on that final drive.
Yeah, just a great job overall by the staff when it came to that adjustment. And, when things look bad and bleak, you have to kind of find ways to maybe shift the momentum in your way. We might have seen now with Tyron Smith coming back here in the very near future at left tackle.
Yeah.
This is probably the move. If anything long term, I'm trying to reach guys, and get an idea. Maybe by the time the post-game show's over, I can kind of tell you an idea of how significant the injury is to Steele. It didn't look good from my vantage point of it. So you might just see what it is right now. You might see with Peters playing the right tackle, Tyron Smith playing the left guard, and probably that's how they're going to operate going forward.
Yeah, you had
with that injury.
Scary day with injuries. You had Ferguson leave the game.
Yeah, with the
as
neck,
well.
shoulder. Yeah.
One time Diggs was banged up, had to go to the locker room. Might be dealing with a thumb injury, but good to see he came back in. That big fumble that he was able to pick up, get recovered. At the end of the game, you had it was Israel Mukwamu had the game-sealing interception there. But then also in pregame warm-ups, you had to scare with Jaron Kearse.
Yeah.
And fortunately, that wasn't anything serious, and Kearse is able to come in and play a heck of a football game as well. But that will be a big question moving forward. Another question coming into this one was, how would the young corner Kelvin Joseph play with Anthony Brown out for the year? And early in the game you had Kelvin Joseph get beat, but how about in the second half, a big pass breakup for Kelvin Joseph to get the Cowboys defense off the field. Did you think maybe he started to get stronger, build confidence as the game went along?
Well, they needed somebody to make a play out there on defense. It was clearly there were some issues going on, but what we were talking about in the second half adjustments is I'm putting Kelvin Joseph press coverage, and I'm not letting them run any more slants or anything like that on him anymore, and so that's what happened. You put him up tight. That's what he could do. He's been a little bit of a grabby kind of a player in his career, but, man, he stayed in good position, knocked the ball down, and then, like you said, got the defense off the field. That's all you can ask for the young man right there, I mean, there was the ball that went down the field early in the game where they were able to make the big catch. I mean, that was a well-thrown ball, not giving him any excuses on that, but sometimes these guys do make plays. In that particular case, that's what happened.
Yeah, you mentioned Houston going with, early in the game, that rotating quarterback situation.
It's a problem today.
With Mills and Driscoll, and then really in the second half, they kind of settled with Driscoll. Now, the Cowboys defense, give them some credit. They held Houston to just 3 points in the second half. What was interesting, though, this pass rush that's been so dominant and so good all year long failed to record a sack today. Yeah. Now, they started to get more pressure in the second half. You saw Dan Quinn try to dial up a couple of blitzes. The running of Driscoll, we saw them really burn them a couple of years ago when the Cowboys had to play the Lions. But the quarterbacks are getting the ball out quick. You got to give some credit to Mills and Driscoll. The timing was on for them today. They didn't really allow the pass rush to be that much of a factor. When the Cowboys needed some stops late in the game, their defense came up big for them.
Yeah, they sure did. I mean, the Texans were committed to trying to run the ball, but they only averaged like 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, 3.5 for Pierce.
The big issue I felt like was the running quarterback. When you get the read option, and then it's the running of the quarterback, where Dallas really wasn't in good shape. But you mentioned the pass rush. Kind of felt like in this game, if it turned into Dallas making Houston one-dimensional, that they would be able to get the pressure. But give the Texans some credit. We talked about it, in the pregame. They've invested, quite a bit of capital, draft capital, into first-round offensive linemen. Mark Vandermeer, who was with us, the voice of the Texans, was talking about, hey, these tackles haven't been, bad. It's been a lot about the inside stuff that's gone on. So, yeah, I mean, it was, it wasn't a pretty from the pass rushing aspect.
Yeah.
But they were able to get those stops, and that's kind of what they needed there.
Well, holy cow. Osa Odighizuwa, there were a couple of plays. He undressed Kenyon Green out there.
Yeah.
And Kenyon Green was a player out of Texas A&M I think you and I both liked quite a bit. Thought that was a plug-and-play kind of player coming out of the draft, but he has really struggled for Houston. And Osa Odighizuwa, my goodness, he had a heck of a football game today. A lot of texts coming in, 877-881-1053 on the TrekCorrect.com text line here on your official postgame show, the Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus hanging out with a bunch of happy Cowboy fans after this 27-23 win. It wasn't easy, but the Cowboys got it done in the Miller Lite Club. But how about Leighton Vander Esch today as well? And Leighton Vander Esch is stacking up game after game. He's having a fantastic season. But he was your leading tackler today for the Cowboys, and he was all over the football field.
Yeah, he had several key stops in this game. And, these types of games where you have the teams are going to try and commit to running the football, and that's where Leighton Vander Esch really, really shines. When teams are going to say, okay, we're going to saddle up, and here we go. And he did a great job of, getting off blocks, getting into lanes, filling holes, filling gaps, wrapping up right there. Never felt like even the one, they really only had, one really, really big run when when you start to talk about Pierce. He had 78 yards total, but he had a 24-yard run.
Right.
So, those are the types of things. You take that 24-yard run out, though, I felt like the Cowboys did a really good job against a back that's of the quality of Pierce.
Yeah, I agree. And Dameon Pierce has had a great season. We talked about him and Malik Davis kind of reuniting that old Florida Gator backfield. We didn't get to see Malik Davis today. I think pregame, a lot of people thought this one might get out of hand early. Yeah. Certainly Houston, give them a lot of credit. Yeah. They fought hard in this one. But another game in which the Cowboys have held a leading rusher for the opposing team to under 100 yards. Yeah. And at some point during today's game, it looked like maybe Dameon Pierce would eclipse that. But again, in the second half, the Cowboys' defense stiffened. And they were put in some tough spots today, right? You had the Turpin fumble. You had the interception right before the half. They were put on some short fields And again, in the second half, they only allow 3 points. So I get maybe 23 points allowed. It wasn't the best defensive game that they played all year, and it's a team that you were expected to beat and relatively beat handedly. But this is, I want to stress, it's the NFL.
Yeah.
And we've seen teams, I mean, look, I don't think Eagle fans were expecting to beat the Indianapolis Colts 17-16. Cowboys put 33 points up on the Colts last Sunday night in the fourth quarter alone. You never know what you're going to get week to week in the NFL. Let's just be thrilled with the win, and you're 10-3, baby.
Yeah, I think the thing about it, I never apologize for a win. You never, I just, my experience of knowing how tough it is. Did I feel like that the Cowboys were a much, much better team? Absolutely. Yeah, they made a ton of mistakes in this game, but when they had to have those stops down the stretch, they were able to get the stops, and then the offense kind of found itself. And we've always said this about Dak. When it's kind of Dak having to play on the fly, tends to be a little bit better player. But, man, they made a ton of mistakes today. They really, really did. And, you tip your cap to the Texans for coming in and playing as hard as they did. But, they're not a good enough team. They didn't win the game today. Dallas is the better team. Dallas found a way to win, and that's what happens in the NFL. It's tough. It's tough to win, and you're right. It doesn't matter by how many or how it looks. The bottom line is just to find a way to win. If you can make mistakes along the way, and but you always say, well, against good teams, that'll show up. Well, they didn't play a good team today. They found a way to win, and hopefully you play a much better game when you play those better teams.
It's surprisingly only 3 penalties today for the Cowboys compared to just 4. But it was
How about that?
It was the turnovers. It was the 3 turnovers.
The turnovers were awful.
The 2 interceptions by Dak.
Yeah.
The second one, the pass rush comes off the right side, and I think that's the one that really made the coaching staff say, okay, we need to make a change here, and credit to them for doing that and getting Jason Peters in there. And we'll have to see, as we talked about earlier, what they do moving forward. But Dak Prescott, 24 of 39, 254 yards, a touchdown, and those 2 interceptions. Not the best day from Dak, but you saw some tough yards with the quarterback sneak to be able to convert. You did finally start to see him use his legs, and that was something you said at halftime.
Right.
Maybe Dak run a little bit.
Right.
Maybe he's leaving some yards there on the field. He started to use his legs a little bit. But, my gosh, you're so right. Number 4, you need a drive, 98 yards. It just seemed like he was in total command, made his best throws of the game in that moment. The throw to Dalton Schultz, the throw out to Noah Brown, which was a great pass, a great catch to him. So I get the criticism of Dak. I'm sure we'll hear it from the callers, 877-881-1053. Not the best game from your quarterback, but when you needed the game-winning drive, he came through from you. We will hear from Dak Prescott. We will hear from Mike McCarthy, the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by Pepsi, made for Cowboys watching. Also the Salvation Army, Love Beyond. 27-23, Cowboys get the win over the Houston Texans, 10-3 on the year. So much more to come. We got Brad Sham, we got Bobby Belt, we got Coach McCarthy, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones, and more here on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time.
Second down and short. There's a little reverse to Pollard coming right with a convoy to the 5, and he dances in. Touchdown, Pollard. Great clearing blocks from Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele got Pollard 11.
Well, speaking of Terrence Steele there, Cowboys Vice President Stephen Jones on Terrence Steele's left knee. Quote, "We're concerned."
Yeah.
Declined to provide further details on Terrence Steele's behalf. Obviously, that would be a major loss. Now, Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus here at the Miller Lite Club after a 27-23 win as the Cowboys get dub number 10 on the year. And you look, Jason Peters stepped in on the game-winning touchdown drive, stabilized that right tackle spot. Cowboys have Tyron Smith coming back at just the right time. They're hopeful he's ready to rock by next week against Jacksonville. We'll get to Jacksonville a little bit later on. They look darn good today in a win over the Tennessee Titans. But moving forward, I guess we'll have to see what their plan would be. I don't anticipate it would be Josh Ball. Now, this is just me speculating, my own opinion. We've gotten to see mini camps and training camp, and no disrespect to the individual, the player, but I just don't see him being ready to go for a team that has championship aspirations.
Well, it's tough because you're in a situation right now where you're kind of – how much work does Ball really get during the week?
Exactly.
So now you throw him in a situation where all of a sudden he's having to go – but he is the swing tackle.
He is.
As is Jason Peters. And Jason Peters played some early in that game at left tackle. So I think you're in a mindset now of, okay, Jason Peters, do you really want to play him at right tackle? I think just right now at a necessity,
you probably have to.
You have to. And Jason Peters is a pro. There's no question about it. And you got to give Will McClay and Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, the staff, a lot of credit for going out and identifying that they were going to need some help. They thought they were going to need the help maybe with Tyler Smith.
Sure.
But it ends up that when, Steele went out, now they need the help at right tackle. They kind of felt like that maybe the Ball could handle the job. I kind of felt like, and I think you did as well, that Let's Go looked better in training camp than Ball did. But, hey, those last couple of series for Ball, but Ball had to play a lot of the game. He had to play, and we need to look at the All-22, which we will, and kind of figure out, was it just two bad breakdowns? Is it, and you worry about that at the worst time?
Right, because and as an offensive lineman, that's all it takes, right? You can have 10 great snaps, and it's the one bad play, and everybody thinks you're horrible.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always say. Evaluate the 50 plays that he played. But it was very noticeable that, when they were backed up, that the Texans obviously said, let's take him to the quarterback. Let's rush that side. And that's the Cowboys did the right thing. They said, hey, our best chance of moving the football would be to replace Ball. There's been times in life where previous regimes would have just kept Chaz Green out there at left tackle and – be damned, that kind of thing.
We're going to stick with our guys, and we're going to be stubborn. But you didn't see that. You've seen flexibility, and you've seen that throughout this year from Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and that coaching staff. How about Ezekiel Elliott today? 15 carries, 62 yards, including the game-winning touchdown. And he was running hard. You're right. Tough yards today for Zeke.
Yeah, that was very tough. This was a Texan team that had really, really struggled against – the run, and they were committed today of not allowing that to happen. If you look at 25 carries basically between Pollard and Elliott, and for like 104 yards. It's a 5-yard average between, right, for those two. But man, if overall though, it wasn't as open There wasn't that space
No.
that we'd seen in some of the previous
had
weeks.
one of those third downs that Pollard was
God.
able to convert. He was caught in the backfield
Yeah.
about 4 yards back, and he's darting his way in and is able to make it's like Marion Barber-esque.
Yeah.
One of the best 2-yard runs you'll see in Cowboys history.
Yeah, those were some really, really tough yards today for and the backs, and they ran hard. That's what when they had to convert those third. It's unfortunate though on the goal line that they got stopped on. I think they ran the ball 10 straight times
They
there.
did.
And everybody was screaming maybe a better design, better creativity.
He just got beat at the point of attack, and a great play by Desmond King came in on block.
Desmond King's a hell of a player. If you followed me at all throughout my career doing this with a draft show, Desmond King was a guy that was picked in the 5th round by the Chargers, and I'm like, why wouldn't somebody like this guy? He's a punt returner. He doesn't run really super fast, but he tackles his ass off. He's very instinctual as a player, though. And so, it was a good play on his part. It'd been a lot better if the Cowboys could have found a way to punch that thing in.
All right, speaking of Ezekiel Elliott and his day today, afterwards he caught up with our buddy Chris Arnold. CA, take it away with Zeke.
Zeke, let's talk about the game-winning touchdown. Describe the play, and were you sure they were going to call your number, even though that's where you normally eat?
Yeah, it's just inside zone play. We've been running all day down there inside the 5. Dak told us what the call was before he went out and they had called a timeout. So came back in, same call. I think Kellen just saw the look in the offensive line eyes. They probably been pissed off if we would have threw it.
Exactly. And you guys got the job done. Now, it took a 98-yard drive. Can you talk about the defense getting the stop after the pick? And then you guys knowing what you had to do for 98 yards. So can you talk about that momentum and what you guys are trying to accomplish knowing you needed 98 yards, the mindset?
Talking about resilience, man. Just the way they got down there, defense get that big goal line stop, and then us taking the 98 yards, man, it just shows what this team is about. There was a lot of big plays that happened in between all that, and I'm glad to be on this team.
You know what? It goes on show that any given Sunday, anything can happen in this league. Can you talk about the way Houston played and how you guys are normally dominant, but they put up a big fight?
Every week's gonna be tough, man, and I think maybe we probably got a little. You guys got used to seeing us blow guys out, but it's still the NFL. You're not gonna blow people out every weekend. And most games come down to one score, and we just did what we need to do towards the end of the game to pull this one out.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Zeke and CA brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, home to over 8,500 of your favorite electronic games, more than 1,000 table game seats, and 1,400 luxury hotel rooms. It's always a good time at a WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Joined now by our buddy Bobby Belt. Bobby, this one certainly didn't go the way you envisioned it. You were not nervous whatsoever. I don't think any of us were necessarily, but hey, a win's a win, right? Or do you think otherwise?
Yes and no. A win's a win, but there were a lot of problems today that you shouldn't have had. This game shouldn't have been as close as it was. I think you saw right out of the gate. You go down the field, you score 7 easy. You get a 3 and out, and then the Turpin muff happens, and then it's just a bunch of errors after that. And honestly, just, thank God for DeMarcus Lawrence and that 3rd and goal stop, I think. That's going to be huge. And so, a lot to work on the next 2 weeks heading into Philadelphia.
Bobby, to me, the interceptions are a problem. Mm-hmm. The mud punt problem. The team kind of looks like that they've kind of figured out about what's going on with the penalties. So that doesn't seem to be as much of an issue. But Dak, I asked you this in the pregame show. You still okay with the aggressiveness and the way we're throwing the football there?
Yeah, I still am. I think the issue that I've gotten this one is this is an instance, we've talked about before, is Dak seeing the field well or whatever else. Today he didn't. I don't know what was going on.
He had some tip balls today. The linebacker dropped, the depth.
He had some stuff where he was he didn't see the linebacker, or he wouldn't see the safety. He didn't see some of these guys, sitting down in the zone. He was just missing some of those guys.
Yeah.
And so, I think that at times when we've seen, that's a miscommunication. Somebody zigged and he zagged and things like that. This was different. Today I think there were just a lot of instances. This easily could have been a 4-interception game from Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And I think that today it was more about it felt like there were issues with field vision, but I mean, look,
you got to give credit for the win.
Down.
I mean, you got to. I mean, as much trouble as they had at times with this game, they found a way not to give up points in the second half and found a way to get a drive at the end. So you have to give them credit for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are still things you can say, look, resilience and you know, you had a 98-yard drive and you know, you made the plays you needed to down the stretch. Those are all good things. That team can't play like that, obviously, if they want to be a contender.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this was bordering on, if they lose this game, I mean, I think we're talking about this as
it's the worst loss in the NFL season period.
It's one, yeah. Yeah,
it is the worst loss in the NFL season period if they lose the game. The point is they didn't lose it.
The concern is you don't want that to be a tide turning loss. Last year that was Denver.
Right.
2007, you remember they lost to Philly at the end of the year, and that really kind of took some wind out of the sails. Like I think that would have been the concern. If you lost, that could have been okay, what is this football team? You got it done, and that's good. You came up in the clutch, but I mean, you're a DeMarcus Lawrence tackle away from us talking about the opposite.
Did this damage your thoughts about how far this team could go in the playoffs with a game like this?
A lot of the fan texts in reaction right now.
They're saying one and done.
Fan perception
No. I mean, the last 2 weeks have had slow starts. I don't like any of that, but I mean, I don't.
And you've blown out bad teams.
Right. If this continues on, you've got a concern. That's why I say this is at least just it's a warning sign. You know, I think that it's at least a thing you should be concerned about. But, you know, it's more, do we go along? Do we see it in Jacksonville? Do we see it in Philly? That's where it becomes more of a concern. Just now, keep an eye on it, clean these things up.
Bobby, I know you were in the locker room getting the interviews and stuff. How is Steele? Did you hear anything about Steele?
It sounds like he's going to have an MRI tomorrow. They are not optimistic. That sounds like that might I think the fear here within the building is that's very well
season ending.
That very well could be season ending.
Yeah. What about Jonathan Hankins? Because that was another guy that got hurt, was ruled out, and he's been so good since
he made a hell of a tackle on that fourth down play.
He did.
He got hurt on that.
Big difference maker since the Cowboys made that trade that we probably haven't given enough love to.
He's been good. There's not a lot of clarity, I don't think, about a lot of the injuries coming out. There wasn't a lot of clarity about Steele. You know, Jerry had said leaving the locker room that he's not sure where it's at. I know Stephen Jones told Michael Gelkin that, yeah, you know, we're concerned about it. But I think when you talk to some people around the locker, they're giving that indication. Hankins, I haven't gotten a good feel for yet. But, man, this is, you know, I think Terrence Steele would be a big blow to them. And I think next week you're looking at this would be a Jason Peters. According to Jerry Jones, this would be Jason Peters or Josh Ball playing right tackle moving forward. This wouldn't be a case of Tyler Smith maybe bumping out and then keeping Connor McGovern at left guard.
Bobby, anything else before we let you out of here?
Just that I love you all.
Love you more. There he goes. Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, with us here on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. How about Brian Broaddus, the birthday boy? He will be about 21 years old tomorrow, my guy Brian Broaddus. But he's out here just handing out cupcakes and cookies out at the Miller Lite Club as the victory party continues. Cowboys get the win 27-23, but definitely bummer news there regarding Terrence Steele. And, you know, as we've talked about, and we'll have plenty of time to unpack it, but it's got to be Jason Peters.
Yeah, I would. Man, this team they've made moves or adjusted their lineup at times in a way that I thought, no, they need to do it this way. And then they do something completely different with how they play it. So they might just try and get Ball ready, you know, get him ready on a week's practice and see if they can go from there.
And hey, if he looks good, then let's rock with
I think Joe
Philbin's had a pretty good year.
Oh, no, he has. And I just wonder because I was kind of thinking that, oh, yeah, just kick Peters over there. Man, we saw him play well. You know, I mean, for that drive, we saw him play.
We did.
So every time that I want to say that, oh, just kick him over there, they do something completely different.
All right, let's hear from Coach Mike McCarthy. We'll also hear from you, 877-881-1053. Your calls, your text. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Every Whataburger is made fresh and made to order. It's all the homemade goodness you could ask for. The patties, 100% all beef and never frozen. The veggies, cut in-house for maximum freshness. The bread, delivered fresh. And the order, just like you like it.
Enjoy.
This is homemade at our house, and you're invited anytime you want. Seriously, we're open 24/7. Whataburger, just like you like it.
Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammond on inspiration.
I hope it's an inspiration to girls out there, being the first woman to coach an NBA team. But I've always been more inspired by the future, not by what I've done, but by what's coming next.
What do you want to do next? Whether it's buying a home, growing your wealth, or protecting your assets, SWBC is here to support your next steps toward financial success with personalized service and expert advice.
Visit SWBC.com to take the next step toward your financial future.
Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Snap to Driscoll, spins around to his right, stopped by Barr. He won't get in. It's the Cowboys' turn for a goal line stand.
Oh, what a goal line stand it was. Cowboys get the win, 27-23. You'll get the win in any way you can as we hang out here in the Miller Lite Club. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus on the official postgame show of your Dallas Cowboys. And joining us now, the official voice of your Dallas Cowboys, Brad Shaman. Brad, you just joined us from your visit inside the locker room. Well, what was the mood like, and what were some of your takeaways from visiting with the guys?
Well, first of all, has anybody mentioned it's Brian's birthday tomorrow?
Oh, trust me.
Has that come up at all?
We just did, and they gave him a delicious plate of goodies.
And he shared.
He shared. He shared with everybody.
You know, they're happy. They're relieved, obviously. I was struck by talking to a number of the offensive players, how many of them said, you know, when the defense was on the field before the last possession, Dak was walking up and down, talking to everybody, saying, "We're going the length of the field. Don't worry about it. We're going to go score." Right. And you know, he's really good at that.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done that so many times. Then apparently, the offensive line, led by Zach Martin, were particularly fired up. They weren't happy about having not gotten in at the goal line earlier, and they knew that it was going to be on them. And I did talk to Zach a little bit, and several other players, Dalton Schultz, Zeke, both said, you know, the O-line wanted that score, and we knew we were going to get it. We knew we were going to go the length of the field. And I asked a couple of them, how do you explain playing the whole game like that? And then you go 98 yards, like pip, 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 pip. It's like it's no. And there was, you know, part of it is that's football. Those things happen. But they really had a fire in them when they got the ball back. They all point to Prescott, their belief in him, in spite of the fact that I didn't think he threw the ball well most of the day. He had a couple dropped on him.
Yeah.
You know, neither of the interceptions. He had 2 interceptions, right?
Yeah.
I don't chalk either up to him. One of them bounced off Noah Brown, hit him between the 8 and the 5. And the other one was because ball didn't block Okoronkwo, and he came in and hit Dak as he threw. Those things happen. That's what McCarthy, you know, talks about, the different kinds of interceptions, and it's the decision interceptions that you can't live with. And neither one was those. But, you know, they're all saying, hey, we got the ball back, and we were going 98. There wasn't any doubt. We were going 98. Now, it's easy to say, but that belief is what you have to have when you get into a game and it's gone like that. You got to go do it. And they went and did it.
I know you'll know this answer because you know everything that happens with this football team.
Uh-oh.
How many snaps did Jason Peters get at right tackle this week?
This week or since he's been here?
Since he's been here.
Yeah, 0. 0.
I knew you would know the answer.
Yeah, but, you know, that he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he wants to play 65 or 70 snaps at right tackle.
Sure.
But, you know, Josh Ball can handle some. And I believe he's said, we saw him quoted.
Yeah.
As he was walking out the door, I wanted to talk to him. He said, I promise I'll get you Wednesday. He will do whatever's asked of him. He came here to win. And he's already been a teacher and a leader.
Yeah.
And if they have to go with Jason Peters at right tackle down the stretch, then he'll acquit himself very well.
There used to be a time a long time ago where it was always about continuity with your offensive line.
Yep.
I think the fact that Jason Peters has been playing all through the year and just not sitting there helps you in this game. Because all of a sudden it's like, you know, you worry about like, oh, if everything's just fine and dandy and he's the swing tackle and the backup, he's never getting any reps, then all of a sudden in week 14 he has to jump in a game. See, this is why you play guys.
Remember when he came, can he play guard? Well, he played guard a couple of years ago. Yeah, we can use him at guard, and we'll spell McGovern, and we'll do this, and then all of a sudden he's going to be the right tackle.
I just think by him playing, it completely it's not like you just throw a guy in there and like, damn, look what he could do.
Right.
He's been getting, they've been very committed to trying to get all their offensive linemen that dress reps during these games.
And your years in the league, I think you will agree with this, that the way from McCarthy down to each positional department, the way they've had a plan for how they were going to use, and so you get Jason Peters, so we're going to get him, we're going to take this long to get him ready. And I don't care what anybody says, we're going to take this long to get him ready. And then we're going to play him at left guard. And then we're going to play him at left tackle. And now we need your right tackle. Can you handle that? Boom, I'm in. But they've had a plan for all. They had a plan for. I asked them before the game. Okay, because I think we talked about this on the pregame.
Yeah.
They didn't elevate Mackenzie Alexander.
Right.
When you lost Anthony Brown, you lost your emergency slot. So now you don't have a slot. They didn't elevate Alexander. So what happens if something happens to Bland?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is Curse. Oh, but Curse got hurt before the game.
Oh, yes.
So what's the? Well, they've got a plan. They have a plan for all of it, and people don't have to like everything they do. But the way they've handled Peters and what you're saying about getting a guy ready, Brian, I think that's the way they approach it.
You don't have a guy that's out there playing for the first time.
No, I think you bring up a great point.
Yeah.
He's fresh. He's active. Going back to the corner spot, though, and, Brad, that's something you talked about, cornerback too, and when Anthony Brown went down, now Kelvin Joseph, Jerry talked on our station, the flagship, it's time for him to become a man. How'd you think Kelvin Joseph looked in his first start today?
Well, he made the huge play late.
Yep.
When he knocked that ball down
Third
third down.
Yep.
I thought he got beat. Now, corners are going to get beat. The best corners get beat.
Sure.
But, he's going to have to just play. He's going to have to play. And I was also trying to probe before the game, Zach, and see if, do you want to look at Joseph a little, and then do you want to rotate Nashawn Wright in and do it? And they all said, by all, I mean from McCarthy to Al Harris, and they all said, no, you don't really do that with corners. You can do it with offensive linemen. Don't really want to do that with corners. We're going to let the guy play. And then you have Nashawn Wright. If he needs to play, he'll play. But he's going to have to play. He's going to get a different kind of test next week. He's going to have a quarterback who is all about throwing the ball, and they'll find him.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. On that other side, that Diggs, he could take away whoever you want him to take away. They're going to look at number one and say, that's the guy that doesn't have a lot of experience, but there's going to be a day where he's going to get experience, and every opportunity he has to knock a ball down or something like that, I think. I like him in the run game. The ball comes to his side just because how aggressive.
Yeah, he's
physical
player.
Yeah,
physical.
Him and Bland are not going to play soft and allow the ball to spill on them.
And I would say, Zach, my answer to your question, how did he do, is that my favorite quote, Yogi Berra said, 90% of this game is 50% mental.
Right.
And so for Joseph, when he gets that knockdown at the end of the game, that gives him confidence to go play.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't mean he's going to win every contested ball, but that gives him confidence that, I can do this.
Anything else before we let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Brad?
It's a noon game.
Yeah, it is a noon game.
Enjoy it.
Yeah,
Go home.
100%. It's funny how it's a funny sport. They got outplayed. They got outcoached. The whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the things that have made Houston 110-1 coming in came back to bite them.
That's exactly right.
And the Cowboys took advantage of it. And the question is not, why didn't you play like you did in the fourth quarter last week?
Right.
Why didn't you play like you did against Minnesota? That's not the question. The question is, can you win? When everything's going wrong, when you have stepped in dog dew up to your shins and the zipper on your jacket's broken and the wind is blowing in your face and it's raining, can you win? And the answer today was, they can win.
For a half, Dallas got what they deserved.
Right.
And the second half, Houston got what they deserved.
What are you doing for your birthday?
Nothing. Doing radio, 2 to 7. Listen, we have a good show.
Appreciate you, Brad. Always a pleasure, sir. You take care. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Tolo, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
27-23, Cowboys beat the Houston Texans 10-3 on the year. Postgame show brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Also by Blockchain. You don't need a complicated play to bring it into the end zone. That's why you should trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder with blockchain.com. So what we referenced to you regarding Terrence Steele was some quotes from our friend Jane Slater. Now, she said Jane Slater has not played right tackle since 2005, and she said that when Terrence Steele went down, Peters said he didn't want to go into right tackle, but he told her, quote, the reason why was he didn't want to be the reason that the team lost the game. And when the team started to struggle, he found Joe Philbin. Joe Philbin found him, and they both realized it was time for him to go in.
It wasn't going to get any worse.
Yeah. And he said, look, moving forward, if that's what the team needs me to do, happy to play right tackle.
Yeah. That's, but that's the plan was, like I said, to get Ball the opportunity. They get Peters ready at left tackle, but break glass in case of emergency. It's good that a veteran, Hall of Fame veteran tackle goes up to the line coach and says, Coach, we're still in this one. Let me go in there at right tackle.
I love
and figure this out. So,
you know what this team isn't shy of, Brian? Leadership.
Yeah.
Everything that Brad articulated to us there with Dak Prescott, leadership. Zach Martin along that offensive line, they're ticked off. They didn't convert there. That's leadership. Jason Peters, I'm going to go out there. Yeah. I'm scared about this. I don't want to be the reason we lost. You know what? My team's struggling. I'm probably the best to go do this. That's leadership.
Yeah, they are absolutely right. That's what they had to find a way to just shore up what was going on. And, the more success they had with Dak standing back there, I mean, when Peters went in to tackle, a lot cleaner pocket, able to step into some throws, and the receivers, tight ends did a hell of a job of getting ready and getting things done.
Dak going up and talking now. We'll hear from your quarterback. We'll hear from Coach McCarthy next, plus your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com is one of the most trusted ways to buy, sell, and trade crypto.
chases. He throws it into the end zone. And the ball is intercepted by Diggs in the end zone.
Oh, big-time defensive stop there. Trayvon Diggs involved in a couple of big defensive plays today as the Cowboys get the win. It was not pretty, but they don't need to be pretty in the NFL. Zach Wolchuk, Brian Broaddus here at the Miller Lite Club after a 27-23 Cowboys win over the Texans in today's game between the Houston Texans and your Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium was brought to you by Dr. Pepper, the one you deserve, an official soft drink of the Dallas Cowboys. And after today's win, Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy caught up with the media.
You're always talking about finish. What do you have to say about that final offensive drive that Dak, after struggling so much earlier?
Oh, definitely. I think really was part of the message. I talked about the finish last week. Obviously, we know what that looked like, but I think today is clearly a fourth quarter finish that will pay dividends, during the course of the season. I'm talking about December, January football. So, this is why you do 2 minute every day. The composure of, we had a number of guys get injured today. So I don't know if Tad is taking you through that. So, just a lot going on the sidelines. I thought the communication was excellent. I thought the players that had to step up, stepped up, and guys just kept fighting. Yes, we can sit here and talk about all the things that didn't go right, and I get it. But at the end of the day, you have to go win the game in the fourth quarter, and we did that today with the stops on defense and obviously the 2 minute drive with the offense.
Tim Calshon, Dallas Morning News. Of those things that didn't go right, was there a point in the game where you thought either this team's not ready or this is going to be tougher than it should be or that we thought it was going to be?
I just think it's the reality of the National Football League, and that was really part of our message this week is don't take the cheese. And don't take the cheese, a big part of that is the expectations of everybody else, because of the way you played the week before, because of your record versus your record. And that's where you get in trouble. I'm a huge believer in preparation and the path through that and how it takes you into the game. But we've all been there. I've seen preparation that was not so good and we played great, and I've seen preparation where it was outstanding and didn't play so good. So there's no absolutes there. But the message I'm saying is we had a really good week of preparation. I would measure this week better than last week. So that's that. I just think the thing. We had a couple chances early, and I think when you get into these type of games, if you can make the big plays early, I think the game goes down a different path. But every game has ebb and flow. This is how we coach it, talk it, walk it, and you're always going to have counters. There's always usually 30 big plays in a game. They had 9, we had 8 at halftime. So we were -1 in that area. And to me, that was really the tail of the tape. And I just think with the injuries, the way our guys kept battling, and it came down to the situation that we put a tremendous amount of effort into. That's why we talk about resilience, adversity, advancement, all those things. And sorry for a very long answer, but I'm just so disappointed you guys aren't still talking with Jerry. I just can't get it out of my head. But that's what I'll think about that.
Mike Todder for the ESPN. What were your thoughts on Dak's first 56 minutes and his last 4?
Well, we had some situations in the passing game that we'll obviously go back and clean up. Kellen and I were just visiting shortly. You get what you emphasize, and when things aren't quite what they need to be, is that maybe we got to spend a little more time. We're still going to have the same amount of time to prepare each and every week. So our drop back passing game is something that we've done very well. We've been very successful running the football. Like I said, we had some moving parts today offensively. So, our run game quite wasn't what we'd like it to be. I think we had the three negative runs or, 3 minus runs there in the first half. Actually, Malik, all 3 of them, I think were his plays. So, this is football, and this is I'm not trying to make excuses. I get what's on my chest and the expectations. I get that, but it's about winning, and we got it done today.
Mac Engel, Football Star Telegram. Coach, the obvious thing that any of us are going to draw a conclusion of is that given the records of your last 2 opponents, that you guys just didn't maybe take them as seriously and you weren't quite as into it as you would be if you were playing Philadelphia or some other team that had a gaudier record. You buy that at all?
Well, I wish I could help you out with a quote. I just don't see it that way. I see a team that works, and obviously, we measure everything that they do physically, their emotional State, you're always trying to be in touch with that. They put the time in. So, I think Houston, I thought they played well. They're a challenge to play for. Their defense with two quarterbacks. So, there's some herky jerkiness to that, and they hit their big plays.
Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy there here, and look, they did hit their big plays, Brian. That is true. Houston did, and it was not clean from the Cowboys by any way, shape, or form. And we're getting a lot of texts about some fans' frustration, understandably so. And I get it. Big picture, you want the win. But I do know, and you know this from years being a Super Bowl winning scout, there will be a lot this week for the coaching staff to go back and be able to work on with this football team as they get ready for Jacksonville next week.
They had a ton of injuries today.
They certainly did.
A ton of injuries.
And to big positions.
To big positions. It just was one of those things. They started off well, and then as the game kind of went on, I felt like the Texans had a really good plan as well. The shuttling of the quarterback. It was almost like a college approach where, you have one. I remember the Cowboys played the Atlanta Falcons one year, and Michael Vick it was like one of his first times.
Yeah.
And Michael Vick couldn't throw the ball worth a damn. So what they did was they shuttled passing quarterback in for running Michael Vick in the game and all that. And I think they did. I think the Texans did what they had to do to win this game. It didn't really come down to the running game, but what shows you about the Cowboys is when they're bad, the turnovers are usually the reasons why they're bad.
Yep.
That's it. It used to be they would get bad penalties, but these turnovers, their turnovers are just awful. And and I think Dak's thrown like 8 interceptions in 8 games. That's not good. Don't get me wrong, that's just not good. But they find a way, they get away with it right now. And so, hopefully that's the thing that, that you could put that behind and move forward, because if he does throw interceptions against the Eagles and the 49ers or whoever else you play,
against good teams,
that's going to
hurt you.
You're going to hurt.
There's no question.
That's
about that.
the thing that you have to identify. Are the interceptions things that? Is it him trying to be aggressive?
Sure.
Is it something to do with the receivers, the tight ends? There were a lot of balls today that got tipped.
Yep.
And Bobby brought it up about seeing the field. Did you see that linebacker underneath? Did you expect this guy to be,
There were a couple of times I wondered about that.
I don't think, and I know there's some guys probably driving home right now going, Broadish, you're full of S.
Yeah.
But, you'll probably have to agree there were balls tipped today, and I always bring up did he see that? Did he see?
Or
did he read the drop right?
Trying to elevate it over that linebacker?
Yeah. So hey, they got the win. That's the most important thing. And you mentioned about the things you can coach, but Dak is going to sit down and look at the tape tomorrow with Doug Nussmeier and Kellen Warren, those guys, and they're going to just like, okay, this is what they did to you. This is what we'll see. Is it the cover 2 stuff? Is it quarters? What's giving him problems?
Yeah.
In order to see what's going on down the field.
But most importantly, game on the line, 98 yards. You
Oh,
play
yeah.
your best football and you go win
No
the football
question.
game.
He could look like ass the whole day and then find a way to take it 98 yards and win you a football game. That to me, if you're a team that's struggling all damn day and then all of a sudden you find a way in the last 5 minutes of the game to get a win, I'll take that every single time.
All right, let's hit the phones, 877-881-1053. We got Cook in Red Oak. Cook, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. How you doing, sir?
Man, let me tell you, I have to call my counselor because today I have been emotionally compromised by the Cowboys, and I don't feel good about it. But that's just to say a win's a win. But I do have a question for you guys. We criticized Dak on not being able to see the field. Missing receivers. Can we attribute that also to the kind of play calls that go out? Are these plays designed for one man to where he can't see the field, or he just won't throw that to another option? Just the sequence of plays. Can we also criticize Kellen Moore as well? And I'll hang up and listen. I just want to know what you guys think.
Thank you very much, Cook. I think absolutely some of it goes hand in hand.
Sure,
it
it does.
I think today there wasn't as much rhythm. I don't think you saw CeeDee Lamb featured like you did a week ago against Indianapolis. You had half as many targets today for CeeDee Lamb as you had a week ago. Those are questions that, I have in Kellen Moore's offense where week to week there just doesn't seem to be that same type of consistency necessarily. So yeah, I mean, when you're talking about that same rapport with Dak and Kellen and that sustainability from week to week, yeah, I mean, you certainly do have to question both at times.
I wonder what the Texans, again, we're sitting in a press box seat, and you're I'm not sitting there looking at every single coverage, and sometimes you get the replay, sometimes you don't. I wonder what the Texans took away today of CeeDee Lamb. I wonder, did you see, was there safety help? Was there linebacker buzz? What did they do to take CeeDee and those targets away from him? So, that's something when you sit down and watch the All-22, you can kind of figure out. I'm going to give the Texans some credit for playing really good defense today. They haven't played great defense all day. But, again, Mark Vandermeer, who was on with us early in the pregame, he was like saying, hey, this defense has held them in a lot of games. It's been the offense that's been the struggle.
Yeah.
So I just wonder what did they go in saying, okay, we can't let CeeDee Lamb beat us here, and we got to make sure that Dak Prescott, sees this, but then we morph into that kind of a thing. I think there's some stuff that Dak Prescott had to deal with today that maybe that he was like, damn, when I look at that tape, it's going to be like, okay, I should have known better than to throw the ball there. But to Dak, to the receivers, to Kellen Moore, I mean, it's hey, you got the win, and it's a lot easier to correct mistakes after a win than it is a loss.
Well, we'll hear from Dak. He just finished wrapping up with the media, but after today's game, he caught up with Fox's Laura Oakman on the field. Here's Dak with Laura, courtesy of Fox Sports.
All right, Dak Prescott, you help me because I don't know if I want to ask you about the first 58 minutes or the final 2 minutes in that drive, so you tell me which one you're focusing on.
The last 2 minutes. You just got to give ourselves an opportunity, and we knew right there. Defense came up with a huge stop after that turnover. We just needed the ball one more time. I told the guys, everybody knew it. We just stayed focused, took it one play at a time. Great way to finish this off.
You and I already said we don't do small talk, so I'm asking you this directly. Your coach all week has been saying don't take the cheese.
Yeah.
Do you think there was a little bit of taking the cheese this week?
No, this is the NFL. I mean, any given Sunday, that team's got one win, but they played their ass off and they play hard. That's what it is. You got to come in each Sunday and earn it, and it was a tough one, but we earned it right there in the end.
Dak Prescott, 18th fourth quarter comeback. Thank you so much, Dak. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How about that? Lucky number 18. 18 fourth quarter comeback for number 4, and we'll hear more from Dak Prescott and his visit with the media. Plus, we'll talk about that running game with Tony Pollard, and a great day from Noah Brown as well, as he was actually your leading receiver today. We'll talk about the rest of that Cowboys offense. 27-23, Cowboys get the win over the Texans. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Cowboys fans, head to your hometown Whataburger to help give back to your community.
Second down and short. There's a little reverse to Pollard coming right with a convoy to the 5, and he dances in. Touchdown, Pollard. Great clearing blocks from Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele got Pollard 11.
Oh, what a run from Tony Pollard. And Pollard had himself a great first half in this one. And then it was like, oh, well, where did Tony Pollard go? But believe it or not, this was the first game in Tony Pollard's career in which he had a rushing and receiving score for the Dallas Cowboys, as TP was able to have both of those in the first half. You heard Terrence Steele mentioned there from Brad Sham, and if you missed it, Cowboys said they're going to have an MRI tomorrow on Terrence Steele's knee, but they do not think that it is good, and the plan moving forward will be either Josh Ball or Jason Peters at right tackle. We gave you the news from Jane Slater earlier. She said she talked with Jason Peters after the game, said he hasn't played right tackle since 2005. Initially, he didn't want to go in to the position because he didn't want to be the reason the team lost, but then with Josh Ball struggling a little bit, him and Coach Philbin found each other, said, you know what, let's do this, and he solidified that right side on the final drive. But great job, of course, all year long with that tandem of Martin and Steele, and let's see if maybe it's Martin and Peters or Martin and Ball and what the Cowboys do moving forward on that right side. After a 27-23 Cowboys win, they improved to 10-3. Texans fall to 1-11-1. Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus hanging out with you here on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys at the Miller Lite Club. 877-881-1053. We'll take your calls and texts, but right now, let's hear what Dak Prescott had to say after this win over the Texans as he caught up with the media.
Dak, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Just what did you say to the team going in on that final drive, and where does that rank as far as you being able to execute something in that situation?
Yeah, I told them we're going to go win this game. Honestly, I said it after the interception. Just having faith and trust in the defense, knowing that those guys are going to go out there and make a play. And then once they did that, us having the opportunity, told them one play at a time, heighten the focus, and that's something that I'm always reminding the guys. But just hey, we're going to win this game. Don't blink, and none of those guys did. You could tell in their eyes they believed it. A couple of them said it themselves. And yeah, it was a great one. I mean, obviously it's the NFL. It was a tough game. Didn't play our best by any means, and we had an opportunity right there, 2 minutes left, and went and got it done. And at the end of the day, that's all it's about is capturing wins, and we're able to get this one.
Dak, Tori Epstein, Yahoo Sports. On that same note, I think Dalton said Zach came into the huddle with a smile, and you said something like, I love that energy, Zach. Can you take us through that moment going into the last drive and just what the energy of the guys were?
Yeah, Zach was smiling, yeah, and I just walked, yeah, you got to love it. You got to love these moments. You got to love being in that position. If you don't, you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be in that huddle, damn sure not with the guys that we have and the culture and the things that we're building and we're trying to accomplish. But, yeah, I mean, Zach was smiling. I was excited. We're all excited. Who cares what's happened these last 58 minutes of this game? We've got 2 minutes to go get a win and erase everything that's happened before this in a sense. And it took everybody to do their individual jobs, heighten their focus, as I said. And that's what we were able to do. And it was a great finish.
Were the Texans defending y'all differently than teams prior, or what do you think was going on with some of the deflected passes?
I think that's just part of their part of what they want, part of what they're trying to do. I mean, playing soft zones, making you throw in tight windows. Guys know that, so that they're more heads up to jump, try to get hands on the ball, and that's their whole deal is getting turnovers. And obviously, we gave them a couple, made it hard for us. I made it hard for the team and giving them a couple. But yeah, when you're able to go 2 minutes right there, something that we practice a couple times a week, and everybody focus and understanding that's what we're going to go do and what we need to do to go win this game. Yeah, it's the NFL. It's the NFL. I mean, after the game, they asked me about taking the cheese, and I said, hey, man, it's the NFL. Give this team credit. One loss or not, those guys that came out there and they played hard. They played hard all 4 quarters, and yeah, we were just able to give our best in the last 2 minutes and finish it.
What were they doing during the first 58? I mean, Mike and Jerry said they were showing you coverage and doing things they hadn't done before, you hadn't seen before, and Mike said that it's something other teams may copy. Yeah, for sure. A little bit of we know that they had a decent disguise and coming into the game, but however, they're going to get to a couple of coverages. I feel like they added a couple of more tonight. And just, yeah, when you do that and against and you haven't shown that on film, gives you a heads up there. So whether it be the play calling that maybe wasn't the best at the time, my reads were half a bit slower because they disguised it well and got to some that they haven't been in. But for us, it's about understanding that, yeah, we may get that more, as Coach said, and just understanding that we've got to execute. Or sometimes I got to not try to fit the ball in tight windows and create those tip passes and too many balls up in the air, and that's what they want. So I just can't give them that opportunity.
Dak Prescott there, and Brian, certainly Dak, he can't give the defense those turnovers. He knows that. This is starting to become a little bit of a trend, especially right before the half, their turnovers. I think that's 3 straight games.
I'd say it's a little bit more than a trend.
But, yeah, seriously, though, you're right. I mean,
it's eight games.
Yeah, what did you think about, what Dak had to say there?
You know what, I really do appreciate, Dak and what he has to go through on a weekly basis. I mean, I think there's times where he's super aggressive. It helps him. I think there's times where he takes that aggression, maybe gets him in a little bit of some trouble. I found it interesting that Mike McCarthy and others were saying that, hey, that maybe there's some stuff that the Texans, the Texans showed him something different with the 2-quarterback system today. And so defensively, let's see what, was there more cover 2 today? Was there, more quarters coverage? Where was the problem? Were they running routes into some of these coverages, and it made things a little muddy for Dak to have to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, hey, some of these coaches in this league are really, really smart. If they've kind of seen that you have a problem with a particular look, a particular front, a particular coverage, and you've got people that are good enough at disguising things, they can make things difficult on all the quarterbacks. Speaking of that, the offensive coordinator just waved at us.
Guy, Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore just waved at us there. He just took his son to the men's room right in front of us and gave us a wave. But yeah, I mean, he might have heard it like maybe it was on in the men's room there while we were talking. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of, you're going to see things throughout the year, and you just have to have a little bit better idea of how you want to attack. And the Texans could be in 1-10 coming in this game. Maybe you can mix some things up a little bit. You're like, listen, the only chance we have a win in this game today is make sure that this happens or that happens. I mean, that hey, if we play what we've been playing, then we're going to be in trouble. The first drive of the game, I mean, the Texans looked like they were going to get blown out of the yard. Right. The way, I mean, and so all of a sudden, give them some credit for making some adjustments along the way and making things a little muddy for you.
Now, we will go back to the phones here in just a moment, 877-881-1053, the number to call, the number to text. 214, the Schultz touchdown drop was a massive one. There certainly are always going to be drops in the game. There's no doubt about that. But how about the Schultz catch that he had in that game-winning drive late in the fourth quarter as well? in traffic. I mean, 3 bodies around him. That was a great throw.
He threw that one into triple coverage.
Did.
Almost. Yeah.
Traffic, and Schultz came out with a tough snag there for the Cowboys. But let's go back out to the phones here. We've got our guy Greg in Brock on line 4. Greg, what's going on? You're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, Brian, man, I want to wish you happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate
early
that.
birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, I want to get your opinion on the drive that we got after the turnover where we ran Zeke 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
TP wasn't on the field. He already had 2 touchdowns, and it feels like we're trying to force feed Zeke and almost making political decisions rather than reaching up to our potential of what we can do on offense. And, man, I wouldn't think that if Jerry Jones didn't come out earlier in the week and make sure everybody knew Zeke didn't start because disciplinary reasons.
Right.
It's almost like we're trying to make sure Zeke's a big part of our offense and letting it be known. And it kind of felt that way in that drive, man. Just tell me what you think about that.
Can you stay on the line while I answer your question? Because I have a question for you. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, they got down there running the ball. I think they ran it 10 straight times, right, is what they were doing?
Uh-huh.
And so they get 10 straight times, and you get down there on the 1 or the 2. I mean, I think we've seen some times before where they hand the ball to Pollard and you don't get the push, or you don't get the surge. I mean, Zeke is one of the best that we've seen, at least in this year. 3rd downs, the 4th downs, getting that. I don't think it was a political thing. I think that they just felt like, let's go with the guy that we know can get the 1 or 2 yards down there. It's going to be a physical run.
Right.
I think that's where this all was. I think that's where all this was kind of taking place. That it wasn't like, oh, well, hey, we shouldn't put Pollard in there. Why not give him a chance? I just feel like there was times where we've seen Pollard run it in there twice.
Yeah.
Get nothing. Not this game, but other games.
Well,
and then they put Zeke in there, and they get a touchdown on the next play.
To your point, and Greg, and this will just to piggyback off of Brian here, if you remember, there was another point early in the game. It's 3rd and 2, I believe, and they gave it to Pollard, and he came up just short.
Right.
And that's when they have to go for it on 4th and inches. They go with the quarterback sneak to Dak, and initially they don't even get the push. And Dak's got to then bounce it out to the left side, and he's got that strong run to get it. So I think that's why. It's not to say Tony Pollard's been bad. There have been some short yardage conversions that he's made. But there are times where Zeke's just been a little bit better in those short yard to go situations.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you guys, but we started the ball with 1st and goal on the 8-yard line, and we ran it 4 straight times. There was no imagination, no creativity in any of our play calls.
I think that, but I see what you're going. I see where you're going. But the thing about it was, that was one of those drives coming out of the half. It was one of those things like, because Zach and I were even talking about this at half, and Zach goes, "When are they going to run the ball here?" They had all those throws in the first half.
And 23 passes to 11 runs.
And it was kind of like, okay, and I agreed with them. I had no problem with King made a hell of a play coming from the backside. That's a guy that they don't block. So, you got to get push and you got to be able to make that happen. But the creativity part of it, at that point in time, there was really no creativity. It was about just powering, and that's what Dak and all these guys were talking about. Brad Sham, we're all talking about how pissed off the offensive line was for not getting that one home.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think that I took away from that.
Oh, yeah, I just felt like we were trying to establish what we wanted to do and try to say that we're more physical. But, we've been better with our creativity with TP on the field, and that was just my takeaway from it.
No,
I appreciate the call, Greg, and I get the point. And certainly Tony Pollard, in the second half, you didn't see as much as the motion, and if you did get the ball to him, it might have just been in the flat. So, I see it. And Tony Pollard today,
42
overall,
yards.
He had 42 yards on 10 carries.
Yeah.
And then in the passing game, he had 4 catches for 20 yards. So in total, 14 touches for Tony Pollard today. All right, coming up on the other side, let's hear from Tony Pollard. We'll also have J-Ron Curse. We got Dalton Schultz, plus more of your calls and texts. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
People will always come and go in our lives, but we all know those few who never left, the ones who make you stronger, build you up when you're broken down. The
proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time.
In the gun, Prescott, snap back, handoff, Elliott driving, pushing, touchdown! Ezekiel Elliott, head for the kettle. No, fakes the kettle. Says, I'm not getting the fine. I'm just taking the touchdown.
That is our drive of the game. Brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas, baby.
I think Brad channeled his inner Kevin Harlan there.
Was he channeling?
I think he was.
Like Nicolas Cage?
That seemed like a very Kevin Harlan-like call, but Brad did it with perfection, as always. And Brad, the veteran that he is, but yeah, I like it. He described exactly. He's right. Zeke was like he was looking for the kettle, ran towards it, and then kind of gave it the stiff arm.
It was.
Like, okay, I'm going to kind of jump in and fake it. So great job. But yeah, that was a very Kevin Harlan-like call as well.
What a drive. I mean, you start off with Dak to Schultz for 21 to get out of the shadow of your own end zone. And then Dak scrambles. You had Zeke with a couple of big runs. You hit CeeDee Lamb as well on that drive. But the big play to Noah Brown, we'll get to that later on. And then you hit Dalton Schultz again. I mean, Schultz came up with a couple of big catches on that drive. I know we had a couple of people text in, what about that touchdown drop? But, I mean, it seemed like in that moment, everything else went away. Yeah. It didn't matter the struggles that happened the previous 57. Dak was in the zone. He was in his element. Dalton Schultz stepped up. The play caller was in rhythm. Guys, we had to have it. The offensive line stepped up. Jason Peters at right tackle. I haven't done this since 2005. We'll play that audio from him in a moment. I'll hold up. Yeah. I got this, boys. They had to have it, and they got it.
Yeah, the quarterback showed a lot of moxie. The offensive line was able to hold up. I think there was like we were listening from Brad even talking about there was a little bit of embarrassment and not being able to drive that ball in, on the goal line there. They take a lot of pride. I mean, the Cowboys are one of the best red zone teams in the league in the last, since week 7 when it comes to scoring touchdowns. It's almost automatic the way they do that. So, again, give the Texans a lot of credit for the way they played, but give the Cowboys a lot of credit for getting the stop and then kind of figuring things out. All the players that you needed to step up and make plays. And, we've been talking about, Noah Brown. We haven't been talking about Noah Brown because all we focus on is Odell Beckham and what he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's Lamb and it's Gallup and it's Odell Beckham, and that's all we focused on. And Noah Brown today kind of, made 2 really big plays, had that clutch catch there at the end, and then also had the 51-yard catch where that kind of got Dallas going offensively. It was a little bit of a struggle at that point after they'd had the initial drive. Well, then he gets that 51-yard reception. So, guys, that's what you have to have. Jason Peters playing tackle, Noah Brown making plays, in order, and then these corners stepping up and getting stops when they needed to get stops.
No question. Now, one thing that I did notice today, and I gave credit earlier and said, hey, Houston's quarterbacks, they got the ball out quick.
They did.
But any level of concern, because I know you watched and studied the Texans moving forward, this offensive line, not exactly a stalwart offensive line.
Yeah.
For the first time really all this year after I had a post-game show, I think we're talking, man, this pass rush wasn't really there today.
Wasn't there last week either, too, was it? But the one time they had the illegal procedure penalty that would have been a sack.
Yeah, Osa would have gotten one.
Osa would have got a sack there. But I kind of felt like that watching the game as it was unfolding with Davis Mills, the way he was throwing the ball, it was getting out of his hand quick. They handled Dallas's twist game up front, I think, pretty well. When we watched all 22, I just have a feeling we're going to see like, they picked that one up. They picked that stunt. Usually Dallas is really good at confusing blocking schemes. And this Texans team, as bad as they've been, they got first-round talent. They got a first-round guard, Green, whether you believe he's a first-round player or not. Tunsil, and in his situation, and then the right tackle. So, they've thrown resources to try and make this offensive line better. And I think they kind of played up to the level of, an offensive line that had 3 guys. But they did a really good job of handling the Cowboys, the movement and stuff that the Cowboys usually do to kind of get guys home.
Got some questions about James Washington today. He did get targeted but did not factor into the stat sheet, did not have a single reception. He did, was on the field a little bit here and
He's
there.
on special teams, too.
Was on special teams. We'll watch the All-22, see what impact James Washington had. But I'm sure this is more, let's just ease him back in there. Good to get him on the field, get his feet wet a little bit. And then maybe James Washington, the more he plays, the more opportunities will come for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the decision made today was to not dress Tolbert. So we'll see. James Washington has got to find ways to, you're right, kind of work his way back in, and hopefully he'll find a way to make a play or two for you down the stretch here as you need him, because they've got a little bit of depth at that position when you start to talk about, guys like I say, do you want to continue Tolbert not dressing, and if in fact that Washington is not being productive, well, it's only been one game. Let's see what the other games bring.
All right, speaking of that defense, Micah Parsons, the Lion that is always hungry, he also spoke in the locker room. Let's see what Micah had to say.
Micah, could you talk about the resilience of this team? Because, again, this is one of those games where y'all could have lost this thing, but y'all would not give up.
Yeah, it shows big resilience. That's just a fight, and we preach. Never once did anyone ever put their head down. We all just said, let's make a play. Let's just get the ball back to our offense. And, that's the mentality that we hold no matter what. So everyone just kept going with that.
Can you talk about at the end of, not the end of the game itself, but at the end where you got the ball back for the offense, they had to go 98 yards. Can you talk about the mentality when you guys hit the field to go out there again to stop and get the stop?
Yeah, I mean, we practice 2-minute all year. We practice every Thursday, and 2-minute, 4-minute situations. So I believe each side of the ball was prepared. I mean, every scenario, you can say we practiced that.
And can you talk about also the guys lining up on that D-line and you guys going after the quarterback? You had to stop the run, but you have to go after the quarterback as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a stop the run first, and then we get to do what we do. But obviously with a lot of sudden changes today, it wasn't a lot of whole drop back pass today.
Congratulations on any given Sunday, right?
Yep, on any given Sunday.
Thanks, Michael.
Our guy C.A. Chris Arnold there with Micah Parsons, absolutely, on any given Sunday. And Micah, 5 total tackles today. Leighton Vander Esch leading the team with 14. How about the rookie, Deron Bland, with 6? He was number 2. And then Trayvon Diggs and DeMarcus Lawrence as well with 5. Then you had Damone Clark chipping in with 5. But a huge goal line stand just when it looked like, this thing could get real. The Houston Texans might come in here and walk away with a victory. The defense got one when they had to have it most.
Yeah, that's the thing with when you have to make stops, and that's the whole thing. When it looks bad. The Texans, I felt like I think they had a really good plan.
I mean, one of their best games.
We all kind of remember the Jeff Driscoll Detroit deal where that was kind of crazy. Kind of a game where he's kind of running all over the place and all that. I just felt like though that they came in with they came in with this college offense, and they're going to say, okay, the Cowboys struggle with a running quarterback, and let's see if in fact that we can take advantage of that. This might be one of those things where they're going to go back, they look at the tape, and they're saying, okay, we got to play this better. We got to do this better. We got to play with our eyes better here. We got to have a better fit here. Oh, we can't get suckered into this, this look right here. Everybody looks at your tape, and, we know that Philadelphia's out in the horizon. It's a team that plays with a running quarterback and a lot of the movement and stuff like that. So, another good opportunity to get some of your defensive looks on tape and coach out and say, okay, this is what we need to do a little bit better playing that run. I felt like in the second half that they handled Driscoll a little bit better.
Yeah.
With some of the things that they were able to do.
And we'll talk about those pesky Eagles coming up.
You got Jacksonville,
too. Don't you worry. We also got the Jags on the horizon right now. Let's pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
All right, we'll hear from Cowboys offensive lineman Jason Peters with Jane Slater, plus Jerry Jones, your Cowboys owner. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
People take their chili seriously. At Whataburger, we also put chili on a pedestal made of 100% fresh beef.
Now for details, Window Nation, proud partner of your Dallas Cowboys.
At the 40 of Houston, snap back, first down. Wings it deep down the right side, caught. Diving catch, Noah Brown at the 23-yard line.
Oh, what a play by Noah Brown. That is our What a Play of the game. The Whataburger Breakfast Burger is back. A fresh 100% beef patty. Melted cheese, hash brown sticks, fresh cracked egg, bacon, and creamy pepper sauce. Available from 11 to 11 for a limited time. Oh, 27-23. Cowboys get the win over the Texans. They improved to 10-3 on the year. Also 7-1 at home here at AT&T Stadium. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus in the Miller Lite Club. The birthday boy, soon-to-be birthday boy, Brian Broaddus, 877-881-1053. The number to call, the number to text. Let's update you real quick. Some scores going around. Brian's having a little bit of a heart attack here. We got our survivor picks on the flagship on the G-Bag Nation. You can catch us 2-7. So
what the hell are the 49ers doing?
Yeah, well, the Niners are kicking butt. They're up 28-0 on the Bucks. Brock Purdy.
No. It said the 49ers?
Yeah, the Niners are kicking butt.
Oh, I said the Chiefs. I'm thinking of the Chiefs.
Yeah, you picked the Chiefs.
That's I was thinking.
You almost took the 49ers.
I almost took the Niners.
You were thinking about
yeah.
You should have, because the Niners are looking good.
Yeah.
28-0. Brock Purdy has run for a touchdown.
Who?
He's also Brock Purdy. Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant. That's not so irrelevant. He's very relevant, baby. That's your guy, Brock Purdy. You were fighting for him.
I love Brock
Purdy.
And
he is fighting for you as they're up 28-0. So he's got 3 total touchdowns. The bad news for the Niners, second straight week in a row, they've now had a player carted off the field. This time it's Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel has been carted off with a knee injury. So how many big injuries can the Niners sustain before things start to kind of fall off the rails a little bit? I was just telling you, in my opinion, the guy offensively that they can't lose next would be George Kittle.
Yeah.
I think Kittle's really the cog that makes that thing go, because he's so important for them, not only as a receiver, but also in the blocking game. He might be the best blocking tight end in all of football. He's so good in that regard. But you did take the Chiefs to beat the Broncos. Chiefs were up 21-0. They're now holding on to a 6-point lead, 27-21 against the Broncos on the road in Denver. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson, I think this is the most points they've scored all year.
It is. It has to be. I saw where he threw a touchdown pass. So he's closing in on the touchdowns to room ratio, right?
Or the bathroom ratio.
Bathroom ratio, yeah.
Yeah,
12 to 12, yeah.
Yeah,
12
he's getting
12.
close. Panthers on the road in Seattle are up 20-14 on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Now, they don't have their outstanding rookie running back, Kenneth Walker. Carolina jumped out to an early, I believe they were up 20-0.
They were.
And since then, Seattle has scored a couple of unanswered touchdowns. Geno Smith, 11 of 19 with 2 touchdowns. So we'll see if Seattle can rally back. Earlier today, though, Joe Burrow knocked off the Browns.
First time
in his career that he's beat the Browns. How about that? That's quite shocking, 23-10. But the big one that all Cowboy fans had their eyes on, the Eagles spanking the Giants, 48-22. Jalen Hurts continues to look like maybe the league MVP, 217 yards and a couple of touchdown passes, one of which to A.J. Brown, and Miles Sanders on the ground with 2 touchdown runs and 144 yards. This one never in doubt as the Eagles cruised at the Meadowlands.
Yeah, the Giants look like they're going to fade out of this picture. And then now the streaking Lions. Be aware of the Detroit Lions. I think they got their 5th victory of 6.
Yeah, I believe they're 5-1.
5-1. Yeah, exactly. So that makes them 6-7. The Commanders are hanging in there, right? The Commanders are off this week.
But the Commanders are still in the pictures. You got the Lions at 6-7. They knocked off the Vikings today, 34-23 at home over Minnesota.
Yeah.
And the Jags, the Cowboys are going to play next week. Big win, 36-22. Trevor Lawrence, another great game. 368 yards for Trevor Lawrence and 3 touchdowns. So all of a sudden,
Tennessee's fallen apart.
Tennessee has fallen apart, but a defense for the Cowboys today that in the first half at least struggled against Houston. You can't come out and look flat against Jacksonville, because that's a team that will beat you.
Yeah, that's that was when the season started. I kind of felt like that the Cowboys, if they were leading the division, this would be one of those games that, like, it's going to be a big matchup on Christmas Eve against the Eagles, and you're like, oh, maybe there's a game. They always talk about that trap game thing and all that, But, yeah, the way the Jaguars – I sent Doug Peterson a congratulations note, and he said, thank you. So maybe we get him on the radio this week.
Try.
We'll try. We'll give it a go.
See if he can give us some bulletin
board
material.
see if he can give us some bulletin board material for the Cowboys.
Get the lion even hungrier.
Exactly.
Get Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence and company out there chasing Trevor Lawrence around. Put him on his butt a couple times.
But yeah, that's this is you kind of try and figure yourself out now. When you get to December, the games matter really even more, and some teams are taking it north, and the other ones are heading south, and kind of falling apart.
877-881-1053. Always the number to call, the number to text after a 27-23 Cowboys win over the Houston Texans. Our player of the game was Tony Pollard, a receiving touchdown and a receiving catch. Or what a play of the game was indeed the Noah Brown catch, which was sensational. And we haven't given Noah Brown enough love, as Noah Brown, who, he came up with that 51-yarder you mentioned earlier. And then
you guys didn't want to give him player of the game. You and Tim. I don't know what you guys were watching today.
We'll get to Tony Pollard. Last segment we'll play the love for Tony Pollard. And I just thought that Pollard, it's the first time in his career that he's done that, which is shocking to me. That it's the first time that he's ever had a receiving and rushing touchdown.
All Noah Brown heard all week was he was going to be gone because of Odell Beckham.
Hey, I never
went out there and played the game of his life.
I wasn't getting rid of Noah Brown. Are you kidding me?
You two, you and Tim. My gosh, what are you watching?
Noah, that's not true. All right, Brian Broaddus is telling you lies right now. No, I'm a big fan.
Were you?
Yes.
Player of the game?
My vote was to TP.
Okay.
We'll get
you and Tim ganged up on me on that one.
There's no ganging up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't get your feelings so sensitive. Although you are the birthday boy, so you could call an audible, and maybe we can do
it's so funny. Use the word sensitive. On Twitter, I have these discussions with people during the games and stuff, and they're always,
geez.
"You're too sensitive. And I'm like, well, I'm just having a discussion with you, bro or ma'am.
Oh,
I get too, you're too sensitive. I'm like, okay, whatever. Why am I having these discussions? But anyway, carry on.
So I've come across news on Jonathan Hankins. This is courtesy of Michael Gelkin.
That
Cowboys,
was a big time play he made on fourth down.
Yeah, it was, and this is going to be a big loss.
Elbow.
A pec strain.
And gosh darn it. When you extend those big guys, when they extend their arm out there like that, that's their problem. So that's a big loss.
You make that move to get a guy to come in and help with the run game, and he's done just that. I mean, he's been a force in the middle.
Oh, he made that stop on the fourth down. Not on the goal line play, but the earlier
get off the field.
Get off the field.
And, that's a killer right there.
So it's a strain, right?
Pec strain,
not a season-ending.
So it does not say. So maybe there's still hope to get Jonathan.
Well, listen to our show this week, the G-Bag Nation, and we'll have that.
I'm sure we'll wait tomorrow and find out more information.
I got a lot of guys banged up today.
I'm sure Jerry Jones is going to speak to that as well. Here's Jerry Jones visiting with the collective Cowboys media following this 27-23 Cowboys victory.
Are you disappointed? Are you disappointed?
I'm so proud of them. I'm elated. Houston came to play, and they took everything. We took everything, and it was that kind of ball game, and it took that extraordinary effort. 97 yards at the end, go down the field. But I want to give Houston all the credit in the world. They came to play defensively. And I thought their offense really challenged us all day long. Their quarterbacks played well.
Any update on injury-wise? Any injury updates?
I don't have those updates. We're working on them. We'll have to wait till they come out here because some of those are gray, and so I won't speak to them.
If you're without Terrence Steele, would you prefer to have Jason Peters stay at right tackle?
Well, again, it's good to see him out there since he hadn't done any work out there. But they told me that he had never played right tackle. I think he might have, but still, he came in there and did real well. And I was real proud of 75 too. Really, it's coming for him. He's an excellent athlete, excellent player, got a future.
Jerry, this is the first time that the Cowboys have won double-digit games in back-to-back seasons since the mid-'90s. What can you say about the job Mike McCarthy has done this season and how much you're impressed with the job he's done? I'm
going to give you an original quote. You're what you are, what your record says you are. And but seriously, we know that's not mine. But I'm certainly proud of the job he's done, unquestionably. Never any more proud than the way we came back in the last seconds out there this afternoon and won this game. And that'll serve us well as we go forward from here. But to your direct question, it is great to win these back-to-back 10 wins, and Coach McCarthy has everything to do with that. And so I'm proud for him, but I'm proud for these players. They deserve to have an ending like that, and they got it.
Jerry, you get the win, but does a performance like that scare you about what can go wrong for 60 minutes in the playoffs?
I know that there's 75,000 playing college football right this week or this season, 75. There'll be 400 of them drafted, be about 150 of them left after they're drafted. If they're on that football field, they're a good football player, and they can, as a team, beat you any day. Any NFL team can beat the other one. And so I was, like everybody, dismayed that we were giving them some turnovers. We felt that was one way, but I want to give them credit. Their defense really played well and really gave us probably what that score indicates.
Jerry Jones' thoughts after this 27-23 win. And Jerry's right, you are what you are. You're 10-3 right now, and that's what the Cowboys have to look forward to. Now, we did get some questions on the text, like what would the scenarios be if the Cowboys and Eagles are tied and have the same record? Well, hey, let me lay it out for you this way. If the Cowboys beat the Eagles,
yes,
what you need is either the Giants or the Commanders to be the team that knocks off Filthy. Or, actually, it does not matter if you are the team that beats the Eagles. But you need, of course, the Eagles to have that one more loss. So if they're tied, you will have a 5-1 division record. The Eagles will have a 4-2 division record because they will have their one loss to you. They will have one loss to the Commanders. And maybe it'll be even worse if that other loss comes to the Commanders and the Giants, and they'll be 3-3 in the division. I'd have to look up to see who else they play. But if you end up with the same record as the Eagles, you end up advancing and getting the division title with the same record because you would then have the better NFC East division record.
The loss to the Packers is looking bad right now.
Yeah, it is.
Just because the fact that everybody in the division beat the Packers but you. You know, that's one of those ones you'd kind of like to have back.
Yeah.
You know, if you could take one back, that would be a good one to have.
No kidding. No kidding. You'd be 11-2, and you control your own destiny.
There you go.
In that case, it really would not matter what is going on with the Filthy Eagles whatsoever. Okay.
I don't anticipate. I mean, the Philadelphia-Dallas game, Dallas could very well win that game. You know, I mean, we'll see. I mean, both teams, I think the rosters are pretty even. I mean, Dallas is starting to lose some guys in the secondary, and that's hurting a little bit. You lost your right tackle. That, depends on, how great of a story would it be if Jason Peters is playing in that game and helps you with the win, and all that. But I'll say this though, I think that, to be honest with you, I think you really are playing for that 5th seed. I do. I think they might have the one loss against you, but I don't think that they're going to lose another game.
Well, and if you get that 5th seed, it's a rematch with the Bucs, and that looks like a team that is not playing with any confidence whatsoever. And I get it. Tom Brady's always scary. But they are getting shut out right now in San Francisco, 28-0. They don't run the football very well. And, hey, we just saw today, any given Sunday, you never know. But that's a team that the Cowboys would be favored against on the road in Tampa Bay that you'd like their chances against in a wild card game.
Yeah, and so it's you're probably going to 12, 13 victories and get the 5th seed. I mean, it's crazy how this NFL is, but you got to play the games and you just got to find a way to keep winning. Like I said, I'm just not counting on Philadelphia losing a game other than to you. I know they've got the Commanders, and the Commanders are playing for something now too.
No, they are.
The Commanders at the very end.
Well, the Commanders got one left against both the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Yeah,
the Commanders might be thinking, hey, we got an outside shot to get into this party.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I would worry about right there too.
All right, coming up on the other side, more of your calls and texts, 877-881-1053. Plus, we got more player audio for you. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, you know why we're here. The football season is back! Woo! And since that's too amazing to miss.
personal injury attorney sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Principal office, Dallas, Texas.
Snap to Driscoll, spins around to his right, stopped by Barr. He won't get in. It's the Cowboys' turn for a goal line stand.
Oh, and they needed it desperately. If you wanted to win this game, you had to get that stand, as the Cowboys were able to get that turnover on downs right before their game-winning drive, as they turned it over after the Dak interception, and Neville Gallimore and Anthony Barr tag team to get Jeff Driscoll on that 4th and goal at their own 3-yard line. That is our defensive stand, brought to you by Reliant, an NRG company. And what can you say about this Cowboys defense? Did they record a sack today? No. Was the pass rush there? What was Micah Parsons? Maybe this could have been his most quiet of a game we've ever seen from Micah Parsons this year. But when you needed big, timely plays, they certainly were able to come up with them for you.
Yeah, they were. And, that's the thing about it is that, that there's just so much going on this late in the year with the injuries that you have to deal with, all the players that are kind of in and out of the lineup and stuff like that. But they did a nice job. I mean, it was, like I say, it was really, I felt like the Texans, I would have never guessed that they would have had the game plan that they would have had. I never would have. I was thinking Jeff Driscoll gets elevated, in off the practice squad. You're kind of like going, huh? Well, okay. That usually it's like, you kind of feel like, well, they're just doing that to kind of protect themselves as a quarterback. But they really kind of kept it under wraps, elevate him off the practice squad, and boom, they got a good plan for that. So, yeah, it's not easy. But, man, the more that you can find ways to get stops with your guys, and the Cowboys clearly did that in the last. I mean, the reason why you had the shot, as bad and as awful as things might have looked throughout the day, you got that stop at the very end, which gave you and coming off an interception, you talk about a sudden change.
Oh, my goodness.
Ball gets hit, ball gets driven back, the ball's tipped, and now it's intercepted and the ball's right there. And
it felt like, oh gosh, this is it.
All you're thinking about is hold them to a field goal, hold them to a field. And I told you, 1 in 10, they did the right thing.
They had to go for that.
The Texans did the absolute right thing.
Well, kicking a field goal, it wouldn't have mattered ultimately. Cowboys needed a touchdown. They needed to go down and get it regardless.
So
and they did.
Going for the win like that. I have, if you're Lovie Smith, I have no problem with what they did. Just give the Cowboys credit for playing really good defense, run defense in that particular situation.
All right, let's hit the phones, 877-881-1053. Let's go out to our buddy Polo in Garland. Polo, what's going on, man? You're on with Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus. Polo, are you with us? Oh, Polo, yeah, I can hear his radio back there, but he has been waiting a little while. All right, let's hit up Joshua in Dallas. Joshua, you're on the official postgame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Joshua.
Yes, sir. Hey, man, I loved our defense today. I think our defense played well. The biggest thing is this is a dream coaching staff that we've been asking for. This is what we've been asking for the last 28 years. This is what we got. What Dak did, it came down to coaching. It did not come down to anything else. See, if we had Jason Garrett in there, we would have lost this game because he don't know how to take his team downfield. We gotta be able to go downfield. And so I was very, very happy of the adjustments that we made on the defensive side and the offensive side. And I do got one more thing to say. I am predicting we're going to end up beating the Eagles now. We're going to end up beating the Eagles in the playoffs. We're going to go ahead and hush the crowd. All right, y'all. Thank y'all very much, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the call there, Joshua. And it'd be great if the Cowboys end up beating the Eagles. I think we would all absolutely love to see that. Certainly, that'd make everybody's Christmas much, much better.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles they're a well-constructed team, and I feel like you're well-constructed as well. This will be a heck of a matchup coming up, and but you got to get through Jacksonville next week, and make this. You can't go into. If you really want a shot to win this division, you've got to win all your games. You've got to win this thing out, and because, like I say, I think the one loss that Philly's going to have is going to be to Dallas. and and then you take your chances from there. But I like the way that both teams are constructed. I think that they present problems for each other, and the one that's maybe able to get a couple more stops in these games, I think will be the team that finds a way to win it.
All right, let's go to Gary in New Mexico. Gary, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Doing well.
Hey, Brian, I'm just a little bit younger than you, and I've been faithfully watching my Cowboys since I was a little kid in the 70s.
Sure.
And one thing I can tell you is that Tom Landry's greatest teams were not great every week. Jimmy Johnson's greatest teams were not great every week. And championship football is about overcoming. And the Cowboys today had to overcome. But they did, and they won the game. And we got a 10-win team, back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time since 1996. Got a lot of good stuff to look forward to. If Dak can get his interceptions out of the way, we got some stuff to improve on. If, Philadelphia can drop another game, we could get the number 1 seed because Minnesota lost today. So it's all in front of us.
Yeah. Thank you for the call. He's not wrong. I mean, there were games where the Cowboys, I remember in the 70s as a kid going to Texas Stadium at, 74, 75, and really good Cowboy teams like playing against a bad Eagles team or a bad Giants team, and it was a close game. There was always that kind of, but, I think the biggest point that he made is we've talked a bunch about the penalties, and it seemed to be better the last couple of weeks. That's a positive. The Dak interceptions are not a positive.
No.
That's not a positive at all. And, Dak will fall on the sword and say, hey, I got to protect the ball. I got to do this. I got to do that. They have got to figure I hope it doesn't take away his aggressiveness, but obviously it hasn't because he still makes throws. I mean, he threw that ball inside to Schultz, and it was triple coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, when that ball flew out of his hand, I saw the end zone copy. I went, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking, how did he get that one in there? But, great job at, about him. But, yeah, these interceptions, whether they're tipped in the air or read interceptions or whatever they are, you've got to find a way. They're kind of living dangerously and being able to survive the turnovers, but they've got to figure out, though, is this something that he's seeing or not seeing, or is it something to do scheme-wise that they can help him with a little bit to see better?
No question. And I agree with you there. I also, it's amazing how the first drive there was so much. It just seemed everything
looked like they were going to smash.
So well.
They were going to smash these guys. The first 15 were outstanding.
Yes.
And then you get in that mode where
there just was no rhythm and flow.
There was no rhythm and flow.
Everything just seemed kind of out of whack after that.
Sure.
But look, it's a new week.
It was back in gear that last drive.
It was
pretty drive.
Now we got our guy Scott in Jersey. Scott, what's going on, man? You're on the official post-game show of the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, guys. Thanks for the call. What's going on, man? Happy birthday, Brian. Hope you have a good one.
Thank you.
Hey, it seems to be the theme tonight is a win, right? And Brian, you talked about this, like Houston, that's their biggest win, their biggest game of the season, just to beat the Cowboys, which they didn't do. But also, like Amber says, slow starts, right? Cowboys has always slow start. That's Dak's career. He's always had a slow start, better second half. But the one thing I noticed about our offense, there was no motion at all. Like, we went up to the line of scrimmage, and we were just stale. We just stood there. Even the fourth down play, like, they knew it was going to be a run. There's just no imagination sometimes. It just seems that it was stale. I just want to know, though, Brian, what is the bigger loss tonight, Steele or Hankins? Thank you for the call.
Wow.
And always go Cowboys. Thank you for the call.
Good question. I appreciate the call,
Yeah,
Scott.
it's a great question. It's Steele.
Yeah.
Steele's playing well.
I agree with you.
Steele's playing well. And Hankins has come in and done a tremendous job. I mean, there was I know talking to scouts around the league, they were to a man, and there was one gal I asked, and she's like, listen, you're going to get something out of that guy. That is a good trade for the Cowboys, what they gave up to get Hankins, and he's played well. That first fourth down stop, that's him. That's a strained pec muscle there reaching out and trying to, and make a stop, and he was able to do that. You see that happen quite a bit to those big linemen that stick their arms out, and then things like that happen. So, but losing Steele is a big, big, big blow to this football team. Now we'll see what the MRI comes back tomorrow, but when the guys are not talking, when you're not, when you're hearing it sounds more serious than that's that something probably bad is going to happen in that regard. So losing him, but they'll figure it out. Whether it's the Peters. I mean, now you got Tyron Smith coming back. I think that really is going to help them kind of give them a little bit more clearer picture of what they need to do at that right tackle.
And we'll hear from Jason Peters with Jane Slater coming up on the other side. But right now, let's go out to Chris in Waco. Chris, you've been waiting patiently as well. We appreciate that. What's going on, my friend?
What's up, brothers? Hey, first off, my daughter and I were at the game today. We came from Waco and got to say hello to you guys at the booth there. I think it was Woolchuck that said Waco, and we said Tolo, and happy birthday, Brian. We appreciate you. And yes, sir. So real quick, Brian, I hear you say that the coordinators for the Texans figured something out on us, defensively. So that concerns me because they've won one game all year. So what does that say to you about teams that, are more successful this year? And then my second part of that, and I came up with that while I listened, but my second part of that is, do you think for some reason this could be a positive for our team moving forward? I thought the Green Bay loss would be that positive, but do you think at this point this tight game could be somehow a positive? Because I was trying to find any positive I could at that point.
Yeah, anytime you win a game when it looked pretty bleak, I give Lovey and that staff a lot of credit. I give them credit for their offensive game plan.
Sure.
That's the most points I think they've scored. I think they had a game against Jacksonville. They haven't scored many points, but they did a really nice job.
Well, it's the first quarter touchdown they've had since that Philadelphia game.
And you helped them out. Would you give them 14 points off of?
Well, no, by the way, they did play the Eagles tight as well.
Yeah. But you gave them 14 points off short field drives, right?
You did.
Yeah, you helped them along the way. I think the things that you have to, if you're an undermanned team, you've got to figure out things to do scheme-wise to give your guys a chance. I think defensively, Lovey and that staff did a good job of giving them their defense a chance. You started off the game trying to throw the ball against these guys, and then you and I were talking about, Zach, at halftime, just run the ball. Trying to run the ball, trying to establish something. And they did. They moved the ball down the field, and they got in a position where, they got to turn over, and they moved the ball down the field, just didn't finish the drive. So, yeah, teams are going to come up with, hey, our only chance to beat this team is if we do this. If we play cover 2, if we play single high, or we just load the box, or we double CeeDee Lamb. Teams are going to try and figure out, now it's up to Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier and the staff of kind of figuring out, okay, when they do this to us, because, final drive, they move the ball. The Texans, when they needed it the most, had no answer for that final drive. No answer for it. So, obviously it was it was tough for the 58 minutes, but the last 2 minutes you did exactly what you had to do, and the Texans just weren't good enough to make it work.
Nope. When you needed it most, Cowboys found a way to get it done. All right, we got your player of the game, plus Jason Peters with Jane Slater and more from you, 877-881-1053, as we put a bow on this Cowboys 27-23 win over the Houston Texans as they improve to 10-3, get their first back-to-back double-digit win seasons since the 95-96 season. And how about Mike McCarthy? 153 career wins now as a head coach. He passes Sean Payton on the all-time coaches wins list. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Cowboys fans, head to your hometown Whataburger to help give back to your community. From now to
Cowboys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
From the 10, snap to Prescott, looking right, looking middle, looking left, throws it in the left flat. Pollard 5, avoids a tackle, skitters in, touchdown Pollard, and that one was ridiculous.
There he is, our player of the game today, Tony Pollard, as he had 10 carries for 42 yards and a touchdown.
How about that, huh?
And an unbelievable catch. 4 catches, 20 yards, and a touchdown. 2 total touchdowns today.
Yeah.
For Tony Pollard.
Did a great job.
He did, right?
What are the numbers for give me the numbers for
Noah Brown?
For Noah Brown.
Noah Brown today. You want the numbers for Noah Brown?
I want the numbers for Noah Brown, and I want the numbers for Dalton Schultz.
4 for 85 for Noah Brown.
Okay.
By the way, that's the second most receiving yards Noah Brown's
He had
ever had in his
51-yarder, right?
He did have the big 51-yard
He had 2 big catches today.
Dalton Schultz, 6 for 87.
Yeah.
On 10 targets.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what. Okay.
Big games.
All the tight ends, wide receivers, do you think Dalton Schultz had the best game of all those guys? Of the combination of the tight ends and wide receivers?
He probably did. I mean, I'd go, man, yeah, probably. Probably. He had 2 big catches on the game-winning drive. I mean, fans are going to look to the big touch, the end zone drop. So Schultz probably did. I can understand why you want to go with Noah Brown.
No, I just was curious because, like I said, I mean, to me, those Noah Brown, I've said it before, I'm wearing people out with this. All week long, he heard about Odell Beckham coming in here and making plays and all that stuff like that. You know, guys that, you know, and all he's really done is come out here, play special teams. When he got opportunities, make some plays. I know the interception stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably should have had that ball. But man, when you talk about making a mistake and then coming back, and you know Dalton Schultz had the drop touchdown, but
tough as nails. That guy,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. They put all that behind them, and then find ways to go make plays.
Yep, I'm with you. I mean, both of them were outstanding, and they came up huge in the final drive. There's no doubt about that. Dalton Schultz led the Cowboys' aerial attack, as we mentioned, and he had the second most receiving yards of his career behind an 88-yard performance against Atlanta, which is a little bit surprising.
That 45-3 game?
Yeah, and the 88 yards is the most receiving yards he's had. But still, 2 really good games from Brown and from Schultz. CeeDee Lamb not featured a ton today, and that's been a big theme on the text, 877-881-1053.
Might be because of coverage.
Maybe.
Might have been some coverage there.
Some of the you didn't really see the motion like we saw a week ago.
No, we didn't.
With CeeDee Lamb.
They might have been in a situation where, like, the Texans were giving them something that they hadn't seen, and maybe the motion doesn't affect them with their scheme.
With their Tampa 2?
Yeah, maybe they're like,
yeah,
damn it, you can move all you want,
right,
but it's not going to affect how we are going to.
It's a good point, because the Texans don't do a whole lot of window dressing.
No.
They really don't.
No.
They're not doing a whole lot of because Dak didn't even check a lot today.
The Denver might have lost Russell Wilson for the season. He just slammed his right shoulder into the turf. He's trying to get to the goal line, and that right shoulder just goes right into the turf, and they fall on him. This might be one of those things where you got a broken collarbone. We'll see. Or maybe he just had the win. Oh, he looks like he's okay. He's popped up. It looked bad.
It did look bad.
It looked really.
His head came down.
Yeah, he's trying to stay in. Like, this might be a concussion deal here too.
Definitely.
But his right shoulder, I thought maybe a broken collarbone. The way that shoulder went into the turf as hard as it did.
All right, so we got a backup quarterback watch going on with the Denver Broncos. Okay, we've been teasing Tony Pollard. Here's the Tony Pollard conversation following this game, as he is our player of the game. So here's TP.
TP, they put up a heck of a fight. Can you talk about the resilience it took for you guys to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game for us, but, games like that, those are the ones that we need, especially trying to make a run, further in the season. So it was definitely a big win for us today. We made it a little harder than we have to, but it was a big one.
Can you talk about your first and second touchdown runs? Remember those plays? I know it's hard to remember. It was a little early.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the first one. What was the first one? Was it a run
first
or a pass?
A run. Over to the right.
First one was a run. I'm trying to.
And the second one was a run over to the left where you danced.
I remember the left one because I barely got in. I tiptoed the sideline.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the first one.
Right. That's okay. Hey, you guys, like I said, you put in the work. Right.
Definitely.
And it also goes to show that on any given Sunday, because this league, they get paid too.
Any given Sunday, anybody can come out with the dub, so you can't overlook any opponent. I mean, it's almost like it's harder playing teams that, don't have much to lose because, you're going to get everything that they have. So that's a tough win for us, but we did a good job, sticking out and coming out with the dub.
I appreciate you. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There's CA on there with Tony Pollard. Now, you will get to hear Kevin Gray and Chris Arnold coming up with the post-game show here locally on our flagship 105.3 The Fan from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. Now, Jason Peters came into the game on the game-winning drive at right tackle. Jane Slater of the NFL Network got to catch up with Jason Peters, and here's what Jason Peters said to Jane.
When did discussion in the game start happening that, hey, Jason, we might need you to come in at right tackle?
As soon as Terrence went down, I wanted to go in the game immediately, but I have never played the position since 05. So I was like hesitant. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that come out here and, lose the game. But I know I can stand in front of people. So I was like, you know what? After that got hit and threw the interception, I was like, man, I got to go in and try to help us win.
So you went over and Philbin and said that?
No, Philbin came to me. That's what I'm thinking, and before I can turn around, Philbin was like, hey, you going in? I was like, man, he must have read my mind.
How did it feel playing there?
I felt weird. I never did it before since, I did it back in 05 for a little bit, and then that's when I made the switch. So I played a couple games at right in Buffalo a long time ago.
Could you see yourself staying there if required?
I might have to, whatever it takes. We trying to get to the playoffs and get past the first couple rounds and get to Arizona. That's the ultimate goal. And if they take me playing right tackle, I might have to.
Well, Jason Peters, whatever the team needs.
I
right?
appreciate the hustle by Jane Slater. Getting over there.
Jane's the best.
Jane knew exactly who to go talk to about. The big story about this game was, they were struggling at right. I mean, you looked at back-to-back plays coming off the goal line, and, man, it was clear that, nothing against Ball. I mean, he's getting an opportunity here, and, Jerry and front office, they appreciate what he's trying to do. But that's what you get having a guy like Jason Peters, that steps in, a veteran guy, hadn't played it since, what, he said 06? 05. That just says a lot about him and what he was able to accomplish. And, and again, it also kind of helps you, too, when you're dealing with the guy playing next to Zach Martin.
Sure.
Even if you let something happen to the inside, Zach Martin's kind of there to kind of pick up the mess. So good job by Zach and Peters and those guys to be able to make that work out today.
Texans coach Lovie Smith on the Cowboys game-winning drive, he said, quote, gave them as many looks as we could, but Dak Prescott is one of the best quarterbacks in our game, and he's going to hit some. I think they kind of showed a little bit of that champion in them.
Yeah. Well, he gave them a lot of looks, too. He really, really gave them a lot of looks, and, that's the, people talk about it, what's the scheme? When it was Denver last year, is it, Vic Fangio? Is it Lovie Smith? Is it, who is, they obviously have an idea of how they want to play Dak. And, the different looks that he's going to get during a game, is this now the new thing? I don't. I just think that you're talking about a 1-10 team that had nothing to lose, that they knew that if they played him straight up, there would probably be problems. That opening drive of the game, they looked like they were going to get boat raced out of this game. And then they kind of found themselves, and, the final drive, they had no answer. They absolutely had no answer, to get Dak off the field when they needed to.
All right, let's give you an update around the rest of the league. You did get a Broncos touchdown there with Russell Wilson leaving the game.
How much time is left? Do I have to sweat that game out?
You're going to have to sweat it out.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the fourth quarter. They've got about 10 minutes left to go in that one. They're down a touchdown. Now, Brett Rippon came in and was able to throw the touchdown to Jerry Jeudy. So Jerry Jeudy's had himself a good one so far. He's 7 catches on 7 targets for 68 yards. 3 touchdowns for Jerry Jeudy. 3 touchdowns today.
So that means Russ threw 2 of them, huh?
He did.
There you go.
Pretty impressive.
There you go.
For Jerry Jeudy. You do have the 49ers who are just spanking the Bucs 35-0. There is not a single touchdown thrown by Tom Brady today.
How many by my guy from Iowa State?
Purdy, Mr.
Yeah.
Purdy. Purdy's got 2.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, pretty good. He's got 2 through the air, 1 on the ground.
There you go.
The Panthers.
Do they have a backup in for him right now? They got to pull him out of there, right?
Just because he's so good.
Yeah.
It's time to let the fourth string get in there, whoever the heck it is. No, Brock Purdy's going to finish this game, but he is 15 of 20.
There you go.
For 180 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
That's all they need him to do.
Christian McCaffrey with 119 on the ground and a touchdown. McCaffrey also with 2 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown on the year. The big story in that one, though, Deebo Samuel getting carted off with a knee injury.
San Francisco. Nobody wants to play them.
Nobody does. You've got the Panthers holding on against the Seahawks, 20-17. That's big for our buddy Eric Chiafalo. Bills beat the Jets earlier, 20-12. They improved to 10-3 on the year. Jets have lost back-to-back. They're down to 7-6 with Mike White starting at quarterback. Bengals beat the Browns 23-10. Then you had the Lions over the Vikings 34-2.
Vegas knew what's going on with that Lions-Vikings game,
Yes,
didn't they?
they did.
That's a 10-2 team against what at the time 5-7, and the Lions were favored in that game.
Vikings now down to 10-3. We had a text that came in earlier. Well, the Cowboys and the Vikings have the same record. Why are the Cowboys behind the Vikings? Vikings still own first place.
Vikings are winning their
North.
division. That's why they're ahead of you.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Yep. Jags over the Titans, 36-22. We'll be talking all week long, and you're ready for that Jags game. It's a good offense
Hopefully
right
get Doug Peterson on our show this week, and he can have some fun with us.
Evan Ingram, great game at tight end, the former New York Giant. They got a good running back there with Travis Etienne, Zay Jones, and Christian Kirk at receiver. Some weapons there on that offense for Jacksonville. Eagles all over the Giants, 48-24, and the Ravens, even with Tyler Huntley, able to go on the road and beat the Steelers to improve to 9-4 as they win it 16-14. And then on Thursday night, Baker Mayfield.
I think Tyler Huntley got hurt in that game with the Ravens.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh no.
I think they lost him for some time. We'll see what the report.
You're right. Anthony Brown had to come in at quarterback.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy. So they could be down to their third stringer. And then Thursday night, you had Baker Mayfield lead that comeback win.
That was awesome.
Holy cow, it was awesome over the Raiders and Josh McDaniels. But the big one here, 27-23. Cowboys got the win over the Texans. As we put a bow on this one, and then we'll turn things over locally on the flagship 105.3 The Fan to Kevin Gray and to Chris Arnold. What are your final thoughts from this win over the Texans, Brian?
Well, it's hard to win in the NFL. I kind of felt like Dallas was going to control this game. I picked a 28-9 game, so I was kind of thinking that maybe the Texans. I think the Texans had a really good game plan. I think the Cowboys got the stops when they needed to get some stops. That just showed you the type of players that they have, the ability to kind of pull everything together when everything's in chaos. It seems like the more chaotic things are, the better that you're going to get Dak Prescott playing. So just a nice overall win. I mean, I know it's not about style points or anything like that. It's just about winning the games and fighting to get to the next ones. The Cowboys have had some blowout games where they've just boat raced people, and you know, we've been super impressed. You knew this one was probably going to be a little bit tougher because, but like Tony Pollard was talking about, the Texans really didn't have much to play for at all. They had some pride, and they did a good job.
Desperate team theory.
Desperate team. Yeah, there you go.
And they certainly did. They gave the Cowboys their best effort today with that big 98-yard touchdown drive. Yeah. Hey, Cowboys, as Lovie Smith said afterwards, showed a little champion in them. They certainly did, as they were able to get the win to improve to 10-3. So big thank you, as always, to Peyton Russell back in studio, to Ruben Portillo, to Justin, to Joey Erickson, to Tim Collins, to Gavin Spittle, to DJ Pridemore, to you. Happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Get
Brian
well.
Broaddus.
You sound a little sniffly.
Yeah, fighting back, the crud that's going around here, but we'll be okay. We'll fight back, and we'll be back to do it again next week against the Jacksonville Jags. We can't wait for that. You got KG and CA coming up locally until 9 o'clock. Until next week, hugs and hand pounds, everybody. We love you. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
All right, Pepsi-loving football fans, it's time we had a lesson in trash talk. And I'm not talking about that stuff that happens on the field. What I'm talking about is trash, and it's the only thing that belongs in your garbage can. No,